World where every dollar, every pound, every franc was backed by something real, not a promise, not a policy, not a digital number, but a physical piece of gold. For centuries, the gold standard gave people confidence that their money meant something. But then, in one historic moment, it was all switched off. Why would world leaders deliberately break the link between money and gold, the very anchor that kept governments in check? And here's the real mystery. Was the collapse of the gold standard a natural evolution? Or was it a calculated move that permanently shifted power from the hands of citizens to the hands of governments and central banks? Today, global debt is exploding, inflation is eroding savings, and currencies are losing trust. But none of this is new. It all began the moment the world abandoned gold. This is the story of how the gold standard collapsed and how that moment changed the world forever. The ancient bond between money and gold. Before the fall, there was the rise, and it started thousands of years ago. Gold wasn't chosen randomly. It didn't decay. It didn't rust. It was rare, divisible, and universally valued. By the 1800s, gold had become the backbone of global finance. Great Britain formalized the gold standard first, followed by Europe, and eventually the United States. Under this system, every unit of currency could be exchanged for a fixed amount of gold. It was elegant, stable, predictable. But here's the twist. A system built on stability would eventually become too restrictive for the ambitions of governments, especially in times of war, crisis, and political pressure. And the first cracks appeared not in a finance ministry, but on the battlefield. Origins of the collapse. World War I. When gold became inconvenient, World War I explodes across Europe. Governments realize something terrifying. War is expensive, far more expensive than the gold in their vaults. So one by one, nations suspend the gold standard. They print money to fund armies, buy weapons, and fuel their war machines. It works temporarily, but it unleashes something they cannot control: inflation. After the war, Europe tries to go back to gold. But they return at the wrong exchange rates, with the wrong economic conditions, and under the wrong assumptions. Currencies fail, trust evaporates, and the world moves one step closer to a financial breaking point. The rise of a new order, the Bretton Woods system. Fast forward to 1944. The world is still at war, but leaders are already planning what comes next. At a hotel in New Hampshire, 44 nations signed the Bretton Woods Agreement, creating a new system that would rule global finance for the next generation. This time, the US dollar, not gold, becomes the center of the world. But there's a catch. The dollar is backed by gold at a fixed rate of $35 per ounce. In other words, the world's currencies were tied to the dollar, and the dollar was tied to gold. It seemed perfect, stable, trustworthy, predictable, but there was a flaw buried deep inside the system, one so dangerous that a single French president would expose it decades later. The breaking point: Charles de Gaulle, the man who saw the truth in the 1960s. French President Charles de Gaulle realized something shocking. The United States was printing dollars far faster than it was acquiring gold. The math didn't add up. There was simply not enough gold to back all the dollars in the world. And so, de Gaulle called America's bluff. He demanded gold, not paper dollars. Soon, other countries followed. Gold reserves began draining from the U.S. Treasury. America was running out of time. August 15, 1971. Under pressure, President Richard Nixon goes on television and announces what economists will later call the Nixon Shock. He temporarily suspends the convertibility of dollars into gold. But temporary became permanent. This single decision ended thousands of years of gold-backed money and launched the era of pure fiat currency, money without limits. Once the gold link was cut, everything changed. Governments could print money without gold limits. Central banks gained unprecedented power. Debt became the fuel of the global economy. Between 1971 and today, global debt has increased over 100x. The US dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. Inflation became a permanent feature of modern life. Wealth inequality exploded. Asset prices of stocks, real estate, commodities entered unstoppable upwards cycles. The world had left the discipline of gold and stepped into the age of unlimited money. But here is the most shocking outcome of all. For the first time in history, money became whatever governments declared it to be, backed not by gold, but by trust, and trust is far easier to lose than gold. Attempts to restore stability. Since the collapse of the gold standard, leaders have attempted multiple fixes: pegs between currencies, managed exchange rates, digital policy tools, inflation targeting. But all of them share one flaw: they treat the symptoms, not the cause. As long as money can be created without limit, inflation, debt crises, currency collapses, and wealth imbalances are inevitable. Even today, many economists quietly admit no modern system has matched the stability of gold. Is the system cracking again? Modern parallels? Today's financial world looks eerily similar to the pre-1971 era, but amplified. Nations printing record-breaking amounts of currency, the highest global debt in human history. Multiple nations experiencing currency collapse. Inflation spikes across the West. Central banks are losing public trust. Gold is hitting new all-time highs, and here's the most uncomfortable truth: every major currency in history has failed, except gold. We may be repeating a pattern that has played out centuries before. Takeaway number 1: gold's collapse changed everything. It shifted power from individuals to governments and central banks, reshaping the global economy forever. Takeaway number 2: fiat money is a system built on confidence, not substance, and when confidence breaks, the system breaks. Takeaway number 3: history repeats itself. Debt-based systems always appear strong until they collapse suddenly and violently. The collapse of the gold standard wasn't just a financial event. It was the moment the world's economic engine was redesigned, for better or worse. Today, we are living inside that redesigned system, a system that grows until it can't, a system that prints until people stop believing. The real question now is, are we nearing another breaking point? If you want to understand the hidden systems shaping our world and the forces pushing us toward the next major shift, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is Financial Codex, where we decode the past to understand the future.